Selling mom and dad's home, the home you grew up in, can be a challenge. And joining us to explain why is Michelle Serafini. She's a certified international property specialist and a director for the San Diego Board of Realtors. So why is it so difficult? Because you're attached to that home?
Well, that's one of the main reasons. Yes, you're attached to the home, but more importantly, mom and dad are attached to the home. And as people are aging in place, it's becoming really significant for people to start the conversation with their parents about what are they going to do with this home, this family home that they've lived in for years, that has all the things that, you know, the memories, the chutes and ladder games, under the staircase, you know, all that stuff. And they have to think about, what are we going to do as mom and dad either wants to stay in this home, or when the time comes that they pass, what do we need to do? And I work with a lot of people, family trusts, people that have their homes, you know, and their parents are there and they're trying to figure out, all right, we want to stay here. So what are you going to do? You have to start that conversation with them. What if they can't live alone? What if they need to move to assisted living? But more importantly, what and how are they going to sell that home when the time is right to sell it? And how do they keep the home safe for their parents and in a condition that will make it saleable? And oftentimes people don't think about that.
So let's talk about that. How do you do that? How do you keep it safe for your parents? Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, well, first of all, start thinking about their mobility. You know, should they be living alone? Should they have people stopping by if you don't live in town? Should you be, you know, doing grab bars in the bathrooms, you know, doing some of those kind of retrofits to the house? Things that are going to make it safe for them to live there. And then beyond that, it's also, as people age, I mean, none of us like to clean their house. I mean, do you like to clean your house? I don't.
That's the last thing I want to do.
So as you age, that also becomes even just sometimes a physical burden. So you don't want the house to deteriorate around your parents. You want to keep it clean. You want to have a handyman coming over. If you don't live in town and you're visiting your parents' house, think about what the house looks like and look at how you can help them maintain that home. Because they'll often go, oh, it's okay, it's fine, it's been like that forever, I don't mind. But it also takes the integrity of that home and the value of that home and starts to bring it down. And you want to keep that home as a good value, because if they have to move to assisted living, sometimes that is, selling the home is how they're going to afford to do that.
Do you have any personal stories of anyone who has had, you know, any type of experience like this that you've had to
I have
deal
had
with?
a lot of stories. And the biggest one is oftentimes there's so much stuff in the house. So you'll go and your parents will want to save everything. You know, they save that shell collection in a shoebox in the garage from when you went to the beach, you know, the artwork. And it's like you have to be the ones to help to say to them, you know what, let's sort through this, let's get rid of it. You don't want them to have all that excess stuff. Think about if you have to go into the home. Like, this is a good example. This home was
pretty organized.
It is pretty organized, but there's a lot of things there, right? So this woman, I worked with their family, and there was a lot of stuff, and they had to figure out, where are they going to send these things? Who's taking which furniture? Who wants the piano? Do we have to send it, you know,
and ultimately, in this case, what did they decide to do?
Well, it took them 3 months before we could put the house on the market for sale. 3 months to clear out the house and get it cleaned out. And it makes a big difference even when you're selling it, because once it's cleaned out, it also can be cleaned easier, handyman work can be done, and you can decide what you have to do to prep it for sale to get the maximum value for that home.
Staging, correct?
Staging. Staging is a big part of it. A lot of times there's so much furniture that should just go away that nobody wants, that you can take a lot of that out, you can donate it, you can give it away, then you can give it a really good clean. This is an example of a before kitchen. Lots of little clutter and things like that, and then you'll see after, once we got everything out of the house, and we got the house cleaned up, then you see that the kitchen has nothing in it, and it almost looks,
space.
Yeah, it looks bigger. So this one has everything in it, and then I think maybe you have a photo
this is
with
the before?
This is the before.
Okay, I was going to say, it looks
this
like
is
there
the
is a lot
before,
of
and then there'll
space.
be one that will have nothing on it if you've
we'll
got
get to that in
yeah.
just a few seconds.
But
so you mentioned staging, you mentioned, you know, getting not rid of your stuff, but putting it in a different place. What are some other things that you should invest in, or what should you do before you sell your home?
Well, you should also think about a budget for your parents. Like, if they're still living in the house, that's one thing. If they're not living in the house, then you should think about, you know, say they've moved or they've passed away, think about a budget. Think about painting the house. If, you know, every single room has wallpaper in it, it may be a good thing just to get rid of the wallpaper and do some painting, cleaning the carpets. But what you shouldn't do is remodel the house. And I see a lot of people going, oh, you know, that stove is really old. don't change out a stove. You don't know what somebody's going to want to remodel that kitchen into. Just clean it, make it nice, make it be a palette that the next person who's going to own that family home of yours can create their own memories and history with.
So wallpaper is a no-no.
Well, unless it's kind of cool and it's sort of coming back, but you know, some of it isn't so cool. So, you know,
I can only imagine.
But it is really important to think about that house and start the conversation because it's overwhelming. And if, you know, and this is a tough conversation to have with people, you need to pick a real estate agent too that can go down the path with you. For instance, like I was mentioning that one house, I worked with that family for 3 months before we put it on the market. We needed to prep the house, get the things moved, let them grieve, you know, let them remember that home and then let them let it go to the next family.
So this is the before, I don't know, hopefully we can get the after, but in the meantime, what about the garden?
Yes,
what if that
and
gets overlooked? You know, 'cause sometimes parents, you know,
right.
Well, I don't know, just in any
no,
situation.
and that's very true. You know, you have a yard. A yard is a lot to take care of. You get things overgrown, and again, that's where, you know, seeing the safety for your parents. Are there trip hazards there? Could they be falling over a pot? Are the trees becoming so overgrown? There was one house that I worked with where we really needed to cut back the foliage drastically because it was actually falling over the top part of the roof of the house.
Oh, no.
And so you don't want that. You know,
No,
they had a deck
not.
that had a tree that kind of had leaned on it and was so damaged with dry rot that we could not allow people to walk on it when we had it for sale. So you need to keep those safety issues and keep the maintenance of that house as best you can. You know, it doesn't have to be remodeled, it just needs to be maintained.
Yeah, just a few
and the garden is a big thing. Yeah.
Anything else besides paint? You know, we touch base on the garden. Don't remove the appliances. That's what you're suggesting, because somebody might want to
unless it doesn't work and they can't cook, then get them a new stove.
Okay.
But definitely think about keeping it clean, keeping it maintained, keeping things in working order, keeping it safe. You know, making it so that your parents don't have a risk of falling is really important as they're aging in place. And then when you get to the point where you know that they're either going to be moving or that, you know, they may pass and you want to sell, as a family, you're going to be selling this home, start thinking about the things that you want to get out of that house so that it's a process and not something that then becomes a big chore and you're kind of overwhelmed and you have to get it all out in a short period of time. And understand who the beneficiaries are. Understand who's going to take responsibility. A lot of times this is someone's largest asset and they need to understand that and care for that asset in the right way.
It's a big responsibility.
It is a big responsibility.
Can you share with us, you know, one of your listings? What do you have on the market now?
Well, I always like to come every time and bring something fun and special that I've got listed. And so this time I've got 2 great townhomes in Lower Shores.
Okay.
And they are within walking distance to the beach, completely remodeled, totally turnkey. They have, well, they don't have that view. That was a different house. That was a different house.
I wish I could live there.
That was actually one of the houses that I sold that was in a trust, and it had a really nice view, and we cleaned the house all up. But it has a beautiful, they have beautiful, it's like 2,000 square feet plus, which is very large for a townhome by the beach. And the kitchens are remodeled. They spent nearly 200. No, that's one of the houses that we had cleaned up.
We'll get it eventually.
That was one of the houses we had cleaned up, where we did the paint and got rid of all the large curtains and all the things that were kind of blocking the view that you saw.
Open.
And then it's an open blank palette for somebody to come in and be able to buy. And that was the garden. And that before that, you didn't have a before picture. I didn't give you one, but it was full of plants everywhere. So we cleaned up all the plants and cleaned up. This is the house that's for sale, though. This is the one you want in La Jolla Shores. So this townhome has 2,000 square feet, completely remodeled. The kitchen is very gourmet. The granite is beautiful. It has really interesting architectural lines. So you have big volume in the ceilings, large spacious rooms, 2-car garage, and we're like $1,185,000. This is such a deal by the shores, and it's in a little enclave called Del Charro Woods.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, and
it.
they've got a swimming pool, a tennis court, and you can just a few steps, you're at the beach, you're at all the restaurants. It'd be perfect for somebody downsizing, somebody wants a second home, vacation home, easy lock and leave. These are two amazing properties. Look at how beautiful that is.
I think
so.
If
It's the deal in the shores.
UTTV staff moves in, maybe all of us.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Pool your money. We'll get you in. You'll have a great. You can go surfing tomorrow morning.
Thank you so much for joining us.
You're
Is there anything
very
else
welcome.
that you want to add? Anywhere people can find you? Do you have a website?
I do.
Okay.
My website's location coastal, because to me that's the three most important words in San Diego.
Yes.
So check out my website. You can see things for sale, and you can always reach me at 858-829-6210.
Location coastal.com. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us.
You're very welcome. Good to see you.